Today I want to have a conversation about the algorithm. The algorithm has become the new pulpit in a sense. We're allowing these different platforms, these algorithms to become our teachers, right? To become our educators, to become our entertainers, to become the people that inform us. We're going to get to the point where we don't even know what is alive and what isn't, or we don't care that it's not true. That's a scary place to be. This digital discipleship phase that we have entered is something that we need to be very cautious about. The algorithm is really taking over, and it's dictating to us what we see. The content that we digest has superseded the conviction that we usually feel. My dad taught me this. You cannot be transformed by what you don't expose yourself to. You have the power to change your algorithm. I would challenge each of us to reclaim our feed. All right, what's up? Welcome to the new episode of the Miles Hype Podcast. This is Miles Jr. I'm your host. And as always, the vision and goal of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist. Always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right. So today I want to talk about the algorithm, right? And how the algorithm is shaping our lives and shaping our beliefs. We live in this digital world now where social media has kind of taken over, right? It's how we get our news. It's how we learn recipes, new recipes. It's how we are entertained. It's how we are informed. It's social media has become this space, this algorithmic space that aligns things that we're interested in to what we see. I remember in 2020, this was like maybe 2019, right before COVID came about, and the way the different algorithms on different platforms worked prior to COVID and the way it worked after COVID, it's like night and day, and it's crazy, man. Even the way these platforms functioned was different. And I think what COVID showed, what happened during COVID was we obviously had nothing to do. So everyone was just kind of pinned to their monitors, their screens, whether it was a mobile device, television, computer. We were just taking it all in, right? And I think the boom of what content creators experience in the year of 2020. And, a lot of these creators have had success prior to 2020, but I think it just was a large amount of success during that time that allowed others to join in, right? And kind of get a piece of the pie. And that's when these platforms, or the heads of these platforms, realized what they actually had in their hands and the amount of, let's call it, revenue that they could generate if they could have more control over these various platforms, right? And I think TikTok is one of the better examples because, what we've seen with TikTok is the fact that TikTok can be controlled in a way, at least, studies have shown that, TikTok is a Chinese-based platform, and what TikTok shows to persons that view TikTok in China versus what persons who view TikTok in, say, the western side of the world or America was like night and day. It was a lot of, negative rhetoric, slander and stuff that were being experienced on the west side. And then in actual China, it was, a lot more informative, a lot more educational. And the disparity between the two was just, when you look at it, it was like, man, what is going on, right? And you start to see it take effect on the other platforms as well, right? When we're talking about YouTube, when we're talking about like Instagram and, Facebook, all these other platforms. And I think this influx of the short form content, right? So, the 60-second to 90-second videos that kind of inform us, educate us, even disciple us in a sense, right? It's the algorithm has become the new pulpit in a sense, and it's where a lot of us get a lot of the things that we used to get from other means, right? So in the back in the day, like I'm super old, right? But back in the day when we wanted to find out information on something, we went to Google, right? We Googled it. Before that, it was man, I can't even remember the search engine that was before Google. Wow. But even before search engines, you had like articles and encyclopedias and thesauruses and stuff, and that's where we gain information from. But nowadays, you're getting information from a quick search that provides a quick video. Studies have shown that a lot of the Gen Zs, they don't even like to Google, which is crazy to me, right? Because there's so much more information that you can just kind of decipher through and like read, right? And see what makes sense from what doesn't make sense, or what, the information that you're looking for, where you can find it and what it says, and et cetera, et cetera. But the Gen Zs prefer TikTok, and they go to TikTok to find anything they want. And my wife and I was talking about it one time when I was looking for it was two things. We were looking for a recipe, and then we were looking for like something, either it was something to do in a country that we were traveling to, or like a place to stay in the country that we were traveling to, or of sorts, or whatever. But she was like, yeah, just people go to TikTok, or she had recommended something or something. I can't even remember how it went, but somehow it came about that TikTok was the source of this information. And I was like, TikTok, like what? And I started to kind of use these short form video platforms for searches, and realize that, man, you can find anything on these platforms, right? Like how to do a bunch of different things, right? It was how to find a recipe for a meal you may want to make, or how to DIY, right? Do it yourself. Do something yourself, and like fix something, put something together. A lot of the information that people are using in their day-to-day life is being found on these different platforms. And what happens is, as we interact with the platforms is building an algorithm based on what it is that we like and what it is that we pay attention to. And that's what it keeps feeding us. So, and we've been experiencing this in the past, but it wasn't as, prevalent as it is now. Like even if someone shares something with me, right? It would show up in my timeline because it was something that I interacted with. I did a pod about 3 pods ago, maybe 4 pods ago, and it was talking about pause culture, right? And we were talking about the fact that this pause culture has taken over the way that we eat. And in one of my chat groups with my boys, it was like a large part of our conversations. So since we initially had that conversation maybe a few weeks before I actually did the pod, to today, all of our timelines are inundated with like these these hot dog subjects. And like it's crazy because we would just show and be like, man, look what was on my timeline today. It's not a page that I follow, not someone that I follow, but like this is now in my algorithm. And that's how these platforms work, right? Whatever you interact with, like that's what it's going to show you. The challenge with that is that a lot of the times, certain things that we believe them because it's all that we see, right? We don't know anything else, and we're just inundated with these facts, or what we term as facts and truths. And there's we don't confirm to see if it's actually true, or if it's actually facts, or if it's from a credible source. a lot of the times, people say, man, it's I saw it online, so it got to be true. I saw it on XYZ platform, so it has to be true. And we're allowing these different platforms, these algorithms, to become our teachers, right? To become our educators, to become our entertainers, to become the people that inform us. And people, they care more about what's trending than what's actually true. And I think the harm in that is that we're going to start to believe the lies, and the lies are going to start to impact us in a negative way. And then we're going to get to the point where we don't even we don't know what is a lie from what isn't, or we don't care that it's not true. And that's a scary place to be, right? And I think the world of entertainment has been there for a while, but now when you're getting to do these same type of things in politics, in the civic sectors, and in actual like more professional arenas, that's when the problem kind of becomes large in the way that it's affecting more and how it's affecting people, right? You have these credible sources who now are even believing some of the lies that are out there. So who is actually telling us the truth? Who is presenting information that is factual, right? Because no one seems to be checking. No one even seems to care. And it's honestly a scary thing, right? Our Explore page on a lot of the platforms that we use is the new feed, is where we get our information from. And the content that we digest has superseded the conviction that we usually feel. Like, we don't even care no more, right? And I look at a lot of these videos that come out, especially like videos with people that either are hurting themselves or where people get hurt. I've made a point to not watch a lot of those kinds of videos, because what I started to realize is I started to become desensitized to those type of events, to where like it doesn't even seem like it matters, or it doesn't matter, because in my mind, man, I see this all the time. This happens all the time. And then what we're forgetting is, man, lives are actually being affected, right? People are dying, people are getting harmed, people are getting hurt. But we're seeing it all as entertainment, right? And I'm sure maybe that's not what it is supposed to be, or what it's being put out there for, but that's what it's turning into because of how these algorithms are playing out. And I don't want to get to the point where, someone getting injured or someone getting killed, or, something negative happening to someone starts to not be an effect or not have an effect on me, just from a human standpoint. And I think for us, this digital discipleship phase that we have entered is something that we need to be very cautious about. The algorithm feeds us more of what we already believe. So if it's feeding us what we already believe, then it's only going to put us more, put that belief in us even deeper, right? And cause us to think that because this is all that we're seeing, then, man, I must be right. Like, this has to be true. This has to be what it is. And, I see it a lot with politics, as an example. Certain views that I believe, or I'm more interested in, I would say, not really believe, but I may pay closer attention to on these different platforms. I see them being like portrayed in front of me more times than not. And I'm talking about from pages that I have never heard about, that I'm not even interested in. I was scrolling through Instagram one day, and I'm scrolling on my regular timeline. And usually, like, Instagram started where on your timeline, you only saw images or videos from persons that you followed, right? That was the persons that were on your feed, your main feed, your timeline. Then it shifted to like persons that you follow and people that they follow or that they interact with, and it showed you that. But this day, I was scrolling my timeline, and every page that I was scrolling was a page that I did not follow, to the point where I had to double check to see, man, am I on my explore page or am I actually on my feed? And I was on my feed, and I was like, wow, this is crazy, because I don't follow any of these pages. I've never interacted with any of these pages, but it's showing me content that I have interacted with on pages that I do follow, or other pages that someone may have sent me, or et cetera, et cetera. So it just shows how the algorithm is evolving, and sooner than later, like, we're not even going to see things from people that we don't readily interact with, right? And I've started. I mean, I've seen this from just over the past 5 years. Like, if I don't interact, even with friends that I follow, if I don't interact with their pages, I don't see what's happening, or I don't see anything that they post. That's from stories to stuff that they post on their timeline. If I don't see it, I don't like it, or I don't go to that page and scroll through, like, it just doesn't come across my feed. And I think that shows us that the algorithm is really taking over, and it's dictating to us what we see. So we have to be conscious of the fact that this digital discipleship era that we're in is very important for us to gain control, or gain a better control. And I would challenge each of us to reclaim our feed. Just reclaim your feed, right? Choose your content like you choose your food, right? Like, we're in this health phase now, where a lot of persons want to eat more healthy, want to have a more healthier diet, right? So they focus more on less processed food, maybe more natural foods, cooking for themselves, really watching what they eat. They do that with their diet, but don't do that with the diet of the digital platforms that they're in. So I think that we need to choose what we watch and what we feed ourselves digitally the same way we feed ourselves physically. And, like, just really cut down on, man, the nonsense that is out there, and not allowing those things to be readily available to us, readily shown to us, because we are continuing to interact with them. So, I'm just pushing for us to reclaim our feed, man. Like, change. You have the power to change your algorithm, and it changes based on what you interact with. So find those voices, those pages that speak positively into your life. Follow the Miles High Pod page and interact with our page, and get that positive message in you, right? That's obviously, I'm joking, but not really joking, but in the same sense, like, find these positive voices that can impact your life in a positive way, and not just pay attention to the nonsense. Now, I'm not going to say, like, do fully away with the nonsense, because in some aspects it is entertaining, and I wouldn't be truthful if I'm saying that I don't get entertained by a lot of it. But I have started to really decipher what it is I'm allowing into or onto my timeline. And I'm trying to, like, get my algorithm back. There's actually a way that you can reset your algorithm, and that may be a good way to do it cold turkey, right? Where you go into your settings and just kind of delete all of your history and kind of start afresh. Or you can just start focusing on those more positive stuff. So that's what I started to do. Even, like, pages or videos or images that I wouldn't normally interact with, because it's a positive message or something that shared something good that I had seen probably at the time or for that day, I intentionally interact with it. I either share it, I like it, I save it into my on the platform that I'm on, just so that I can get more of that type of content. And then take breaks from these platforms, man. Get back to reading. One of the things that I've done, that I've made a real conscious effort to do, is to start listening more to, like, these positive platforms, like when I'm going about my day, whether I'm in the gym, or where I'm traveling in my car, or I'm traveling from on a flight. Like, I'm listening to positive things, whether it's an audio book or a podcast or something that is feeding me positively, right? And allowing me to learn at the same time. Like, all of these things are important. So when I'm talking about reclaiming your feed, like, these are the type of things that we need to do and really pay close attention to, so that we can gain a better handle on the messages that we are being fed on a daily basis. All right, because you cannot be transformed by what you never expose yourself to. You cannot be transformed by what you don't expose yourself to. And it's my dad taught me this, and for the better part of my life, I've always tried to continue to expose myself to truth, and kingdom truth, right? Biblical truth. I want to keep learning, want to keep peeling back the layers of knowledge, the layers of revelation that are there, that are in plain sight, but I'm not exposed to because I'm not being transformed by, because I'm not exposing myself to it. So the onus is on us, right? The power is in our hands, and what we do with it is entirely dependent on how our future goes, right? Romans 12, verse 2, it says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Transformation comes with a new mind shift, right? New mindsets. That's how we are transformed, right? We have to change the way that we think, the way that we perceive things, the way that we move in life. That's the only way we're going to experience true transformation. So renewing your mind comes with, like I say, choosing how we intake our content, the same way we choose the way that we eat and how we form our diet. We should see both of them just as important, right? We want to live happy and healthy lives physically. Let's choose to live happy and healthy lives mentally as well, and spiritually as well. All right. So that brings us to a portion of the poll where I want to leave with you a milestone. And the milestone today is very simple. Let your feed reflect your future. Wherever you want to be in life, wherever you see yourself in life, allow those things to feed you, feed your mental, right? Let that be the things that you see, let that be the things that you learn from. And I promise you, the more you surround yourself with that type of information, be it a platform, be it an individual, be it a group of individuals, the more you learn, which means the more information you will have, and the more wise you will be, because you'll be able to take that information and apply it into your daily life. All right. So allow your feed to reflect your future, and if you do that, success is almost automatic. Okay. All right, man. So this brings us to the end of this episode. I'm hoping that this is a great message for a lot of us out there. Let's not allow this algorithm to disciple us. Let's choose the positive means on discipleship, and in the ways that it doesn't only affect our lives, but it continues to affect the lives around us positively. As always, the vision and goal of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations, they only exist in your mind. All right, until next time, you guys stay blessed.